Yeah. Can you see in your...
It is. Look at that. You're dialed right in. Why am I talking to you? Look at you.
It's him.
That's great.
Look.
Here, Lee.
And then he gave me diamonds. And I said, Lord, I don't even have money. How am I going to afford diamonds? So every gift I get, like I gave my sister this ring, that was a gift from the Lord to me. I already know. It was from my sister, so I passed it to her.
Wow,
My sister's in California. Yeah, it's my real birthstone sapphire.
September?
Yes, September 12th.
Do you see the mount on it? How it's mounted?
Yes, and I gave it to her.
Do you see how it's mounted, Lee?
Beautiful.
Yeah. I said, Sis, this
It's
is
mounted
yours.
on a kilt.
Yeah, because I told her we're twins.
That's crazy cool. I've never seen a stone.
So we're all family here.
Yeah, so tell him what you're doing and how you need
Oh,
his
so
help.
one other thing. Let me finish up with one.
Okay, yeah, we gotta finish.
Just no. We just want real quick. Why is gold so special?
Because it was that was the gifts that they gave Jesus.
Do you know that in Garden of Eden, Adam
That
and
was
Eve
what that
probably
was
had
made
gold
of.
in their veins instead of blood?
course,
Blood was
instead-
after the fall, and it
Yes.
purified the blood because they were made from the dust.
Yes,
Where
they
in around the Garden of Eden, and that guess what the ground is full of?
Gold.
Dust. Isn't that amazing?
So I want to.
Gold is special for this reason,
Eden
Monica.
is.
Well, I'm
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you.
No,
What,
go ahead.
what did you say?
I believe it's right there at Mount Olives, where the gates, the two gates where he's going to come. Yes, where the Garden of Eden. They're still trying to look for that.
Yeah, they say it's within the
in
earth.
Mount Olives. Yeah, it is.
It's like in a lava tube, like they have
I
lava
love
tubes.
archaeologists.
So gold is this special because of this. We stand here and nothing is above our head except the atmosphere. And the atmosphere has a magnetic shield
Don't mind that.
that comes out of the North Pole, circumvents the Earth, and goes in the South Pole. And it's constant. And that protects us from radiation, more or less. And then the ozone also protects us from radiation. But other than that, there's nothing to keep us protected from radiation. So when you go up in spacecraft, the spacecrafts are made in a way that, or airplanes, that radiation can get through the hull, right? So things that are very important that are up in space, particularly satellites, the telescopes, the Hubble and the Webb telescope, multi-million-dollar. The Webb telescope orbits 1 million miles away from Earth. 1 million mile orbit. It's huge. They're covered in gold. And gold, the reason they're covered in gold is because every bit of UV ray that hits gold is reflected out.
It bounces off.
So gold protects you from UV ray.
Amen.
That is amazing. That is so amazing. So they were saying the people that came ancient times to mine the gold, to get the humans to mine the gold. That's what they're using it for, is their space business.
That's where SpaceX is.
Could you imagine the gold that came out of the earth?
Yeah.
Do you know where gold comes from? Okay, so the original stars are formed by the circumventing of material that is hydrogen, and all of a sudden it goes, and then it goes. Now you have a hydrogen star, hot in the center. Those hydrogen atoms become helium. So hydrogen is cooked into helium, and then hot helium is cooked into carbon.
Wow.
It might be oxygen, and then that oxygen or carbon is cooked into oxygen or carbon. So carbon is 4 steps away from hydrogen. So those are basic elements that are made in the original stars. So that star coalesces and coalesces and coalesces, and when the carbon shows up, iron is formed. So iron starts to form in the center of the star and gives it a denseness or a weight. And all this energy is flying off. I don't know how that all works, but it's flying off over billions of years. And pretty soon, there's not enough to keep it from collapsing into itself, because the gravitational pull of the iron that was created in the center is much, much more than the output. And it does this. It goes
Kind of like a black hole, he said.
it's called a supernova. So the star collapses in on itself and goes and blows up. When it blows up, and at that point of supernova, all that, it went from hydrogen to helium to oxygen to carbon, then it went to niron to iron to boron to ceron. All the minerals that are ever made, including gold,
And the atoms?
is now inside of this star because it's cooked in molecular form. Molecular form is the accumulation of atoms. So put 2 atoms together, you have a molecule. So molecules of gold by the tons are inside of this star getting ready to explode.
power
And then it goes,
of him.
blows
power
up
of
out into
Yahweh.
space, and you get this thing called a nebula. And a nebula is an exploded supernova that is full of iron, zinc, gold, all the things that are on this planet in veins and in us. So basically, we came from not the original stars, but the nebula that went out, all that mineral, all that gold floating out in space began to form. And then it formed up into another, I don't think another star, all planets. So Earth came from that supernova nebula that once it got, and then everything started, and then it happened.
That's how
however
we
it
have
happened.
the planets.
Yeah. That's not to say that the Father, when he said, I created the heavens, didn't do it that way, and he just didn't go poof. A lot of people think he just went poof, but it could possibly be that it was both science and spiritual that were together. I'm not going to argue those points.
No, but
but then when the planets of the Earth, like Earth, get formed with all those minerals, it came from a supernova. We in turn are stardust, because all of the stuff that is within us is more than hydrogen, and all that is more than hydrogen came from an exploding star. It's pretty cool. It's pretty amazing.
And so you know where
I
it all came
wholly
from?
believe with faith that Adam and Eve had gold in them.
They did.
They were made of gold and had gold in their veins and not
did.
blood. I truly believe that.
And that's why when he sent the flood, he had to wipe out all those creations.
Well, that whole story is
Yeah.
just traumatic.
I mean,
So when Adam and Eve leave the garden, where do they go?
They went back to
This
Earth.
is the first book of Adam and
Yeah,
Eve.
they
It's
went
called the
back
first.
to
Who wrote it? I don't know, but it's a story.
Yeah.
So they're escorted out of the garden, and this gets at the entrance.
Yeah.
Their first place of inhabitation was a cave, so dark that they couldn't see each other. They could only hear. Adam couldn't see Eve. Eve couldn't see Adam. But the first thing they did when they came out of the Garden of Eden is what? They died. They were died because they were so distraught that they are now no longer in the Garden of Eden.
They lost all their
They
privileges.
died.
Yeah.
And then what happened?